it feels like, oh, something's not right here. Let me get a first down and we can start our series over. When Kyler runs, it feels like they broke the huddle and Kyler was going to run. There is a distinction. When Kyler runs, it's a huge component to the offense. When Russell runs, something broke down, somebody ran the wrong route, the coverage is excellent, let me go pick a first down up and let's start again. That's what it always feels like to me. So Kyler last night only rushed 5 times for 15 yards and no touchdowns, and the Arizona offense did not feel as dynamic. It did not feel as dangerous. It didn't, because he ran less. Russell ran it 10 times for only 42 yards, and it felt like that's the exact number he should run, for about 40 yards, because Seattle's offense always feels like at its best is what it was last night, which is pound the rock, control time of possession, suck the defense up, and then let the best deep ball thrower in the world, Russell, twice deliver a little throw pillow over the top of the defense for a touchdown. That's what it feels like it's designed for out of the huddle. We're just setting them up. We're setting them up. We're setting them up for the big trap. And then Russell will run because it's like, oh, our right tackle missed a block, or, oh, my receiver fell around the wrong. He's just running. Okay, let me get a first down, and then we'll start again, and we'll suck him in, and we'll suck him in, and we'll suck him in. It always feels like the deep ball is the end game for Seattle. Whereas the end game for Kyler when they break the huddle is, we're going to annoy you for 4 hours, and many of these will break. And last night when they didn't have great rushing attempts for Kyler, the offense doesn't feel the same. And by the way, I do not love ball-centric point guards in the NBA. Westbrook drives me nuts, right? I don't love quarterback-dominated or centric teams, meaning the Packers always feel too reliant on Aaron Rodgers. I've defended him there. They butchered this past draft. They didn't get him any playmakers. He needs another playmaker on the perimeter. So I don't love teams. This is why I love what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, which is the league average is just throw 35, 36 times. Kansas City's down to 30. I feel Houston is totally reliant on Deshaun Watson as a human life preserver. I think Green Bay, this is why I think they butchered the draft. Give Aaron help. Stop this building for the future. Get him players. Okay, he has 2 backs. He doesn't need a third for the depth chart. He needs a wide receiver and maybe a vertical tight end. So I thought there was a real distinction last night. Kyler didn't run as much. They weren't as dynamic. You know, Russell's not as dynamic running, but it felt perfect for Seattle. And they didn't play great. DK Metcalf dropped a touchdown, or maybe it's not that close. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
By the way, it's not that Russell can't be spectacular. He can do the high-volume thing. But I feel like Arizona always kind of wants high-volume Kyler. Seattle's ideally trying to kind of avoid it, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they want to cut back on Russ having to do everything, including running.
26 throws for Russell, 21 of 26 for 230 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Feels like the perfect Russell game.
Last night was the perfect balance for him.
Yep.
You saw what happens when he has a running game.
Yep.
He doesn't have to do everything. So Cam Newton looked like a perfect fit in New England for the first 3 weeks of the season, but after being away from the team when he tested positive for COVID-19, he admitted that he felt like he was behind.
Ever since, coming back from Corona, to be honest with you, I felt stagnant in my thought process. I wasn't able to do anything, for that stint while I was off. And it showed. When I did come back, I just felt behind.
A couple people talked about this. He wasn't sick, but he obviously tested positive.
Yeah.
But that this might be affecting his play. And he didn't say anything about it until now, that it did affect his play. But this makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't taking 2 weeks off in the middle of the season not affect your play?
He didn't have preseason either.
Right.
So he didn't have those 4 and the 2. And also, in fairness to Cam, and I think we both echoed this, they get no cheap touchdowns on this team.
Right.
So this is a little like New Orleans and why I've been out on them to win a Super Bowl. You're asking New England to do 12-play drives. That's just, now, Lamar will pop one. Mahomes pop. The teams I like to win the Super Bowl are teams that can occasionally give me a cheap 78-yard touchdown.
They have this big play
like
potential.
Tampa's got all sorts of that. New England has none of that. So with Cam, You don't get a freebie. Like what he earns every point on the scoreboard. And I think so it's easy to go, they scored 19 points. Yeah, and they work for every one of those.
Well, week 3, the last game before he tested positive, they beat the Raiders 36-20. He was 17 of 28.
Best game by far.
1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, 27 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Then week 6, they lost to the Broncos. That's when he came back. Then they lost to the 49ers. Then they lost to the Bills. Then they beat the Jets and beat the Ravens in the last 2 weeks. So if you look at just how those games have gone, the game before, he was just getting in a rhythm. He's off 2 weeks, and it took a while for him to get back into it. Obviously we're all dealing with this insane pandemic.
Yeah.
And because we have sports and people are testing positive and have had to sit out, and we're kind of like just dismissing not trying to give too much attention to guys being out. But it's the quarterback. It's going to affect how the team plays.
Bill Belichick had a quote. I'm not sure where I read it 10 days ago, but it was an anonymous quote where Belichick had said, "This year is a joke." So it's not. He's just saying with COVID and the no preseason, Belichick's very much a rhythm guy and a habit guy. He's like, it's just kind of a joke. So I kind of look at everybody this year, and it's just like, I'm not asking for the greatest movies ever produced and the greatest football ever produced.
You have to be a little bit flexible with people this year.
Right.
So the Rams will travel to Tampa to try and stop one of the strongest offenses in the league on Monday night, and Sean McVay understands how difficult that challenge is going to be.
We all know what a great accomplished player Tom is. And I think when you put the weapons around him, he does a great job of getting a bunch of different playmakers involved. When you look at their line, all the skilled players, and then Tom Brady leading the way, it is a nightmare. And they're one of the best offenses for a reason. You see how explosive they are.
The Bucs are 6th in points per game, 14th in total yards per game, and have only allowed 14 sacks this season.
I'll make a prediction. Andrew Whitworth out at left tackle. Jared Goff will be uncomfortable. Bucs win. I bet the Rams 7 times this year. I'm 6-1. The only team I'm good on. When Goff is comfortable, they're really effective. Well, I don't know how they're going to do without Whitworth.
The Rams defense is second fewest in points allowed per game and second fewest in yards allowed per game. So it is kind of a battle of strengths there. I'm with you, though. Whitworth being out is very, very significant, and you're absolutely right. Most quarterbacks, when they have more time and are more comfortable, are better, but some are able to adapt more and make plays and can adjust to not being completely comfortable in the pocket. Jared Goff is not one of them. So we have a great weekend of games, and this is the one that caps them all off, but I'm looking forward to this one. So the Lakers are facing an unusually short offseason this year, and Rob Pelinka says it will be a balancing act to manage LeBron's workload this season.
The great thing about LeBron is he is so methodical and scientific in terms of how he prepares his body and the team of people he works with. That'll just be a balancing act throughout the season of kind of recognizing that there was an extremely short layoff between the championship and start of the season, and kind of figuring out what's best for LeBron.
LeBron's played 1,525 career games, 1,265 regular season, and 260 postseason. He'll have 10 weeks off before the end of the finals and the start of the next season. The break between the finals and the start of the next season is usually 4 months. So it's obviously significantly shorter. Now they're playing less games this season.
Yes.
But I think we can very reasonably expect the Lakers, and specifically LeBron, to have a little bit of I don't know if you can call it load management, because I think we're kind of retiring that, but it's going to be load management.
Well, you and I came up with a riveting idea, which I think holds it's a legitimate idea. I don't know why the league doesn't take the final 4 teams: Lakers, Miami, Denver, and who'd Miami beat in the Eastern Conference Finals?
It's so long ago. I couldn't remember. Celtics, yeah. Lead the Bucks.
And you give them really easy January.
Yeah.
You either play at home, so you load up on Laker games at home or Laker games against the Clippers. And so those 4 teams, January, and if you have to go, it's Miami flies to Orlando. Boston
I think they're going to already be managing the travel for everyone, because they're still trying to figure out how they're going to be doing like the bubble, and they haven't announced like the second half of the season, how that's